Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another episode of Haqiqatjou, where we discuss religion and politics, the two least controversial subjects. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Haqiqatjou. And today, we're going to talk about Halloween and the adoption of this holiday, this Western cultural holiday, by many Muslims around the world. Muslims in the West, Muslims in the East. And this is becoming, unfortunately, a big issue that we have to talk about every year, because it seems like if we don't provide any pushback, the issue is going to get worse and worse. So this is going to be our show today. We're going to look at the alarming signs of adoption of this holiday, what it means, the negative impact it has, the kind of analysis or justification that some of the compassionate IMAMS will give and have given to defend this. And then we're also going to look at some Wahhabi stuff towards the end of the episode. And of course, we're going to look at your super chats. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, subscribe to our newsletter. The link for the newsletter is in the description below. And participate in the chat. Leave me a comment. I'm going to be looking at the comments later in the show. And if you want to prioritize your comment, then submit a super chat. So, so this is October 28th, according to the Gregorian calendar. And there's a few days until Halloween. But the preparations for celebrating Halloween have been ongoing since the beginning of the month, the beginning of October. In the United States, you see the different houses will put up decorations, businesses will put up their decorations, their Halloween decorations, and masajid start announcing in advance what they plan to do for Halloween. And there's generally two approaches. They either will have a literal trick-or-treat, Halloween, Halalloween celebration, or they'll just rebrand it and they'll say, October 31st, after Maghrib, when it's getting dark, we're not going to do Halloween. Instead, we're going to, have a festival. We're going to have a fall festival, and we're going to, do fun stuff for the kids. This is like the two approaches, and both of them are obviously problematic, as we'll explain. And as for my personal experience, growing up, I grew up in the United States, and it was just expected that everyone is going to, recognize the season. So I went through public school, and from elementary school and public schools, they have trick-or-treating. They will have like exchanging candy in class. You're exchanging candy, or the teacher will give out candy. You can wear costumes. They decorate the school with all of the kind of Halloween decorations, witches and spiders and Frankensteins, and that aesthetic. So all, now that I think about it, all the holidays are celebrated in public schools. Like we had Valentine's Day, where you'd literally exchange cards. Like this is, I'm talking about like second grade, first, second, third grade, kindergarten even, where the parents are expected to buy these cards, and you're supposed to, it has like a heart, and it has a to line and a from line, to, and you have to write every single kid's name in the class. Usually there are like 25 or 30 kids in the class. You have to say to, Vanessa and Charlie and Billy from Daniel. And just like 25 of these or 30 of these. And then Valentine's. This is Valentine's. It's like a card with a heart. And some of them are themed. You can like have a Power Rangers themed Valentine, or a, Care Bears. If you're in kindergarten, maybe Care Bears, or I don't know, Toy Story, whatever theme. You have 25 cards of this nature, and you're sharing them on Valentine's Day. Same for Christmas, same for Easter. And it was never religious in nature, but it's cultural. It's like cultural. This is part of the culture. Everyone's going to participate. Everyone's going to be, you know, partaking in some kind of exchange, usually associated with food, etc. So there's a huge cultural pressure. Now, I don't know if that still exists in public schools. I think it does. I think some version of that exists, maybe less so because of diversity, sensitivity. Like, is it really good to impose these kinds of American holidays on all of the students, many of whom are not from an American background? They're literally immigrants. So maybe there's less of it now. I don't know. But nonetheless, the cultural pressure is very high. And it's usually through the public schools that these holidays are really mass distributed, or people are mass assimilated into practicing these holidays is from the school system. And Muslim parents feel the pressure. Muslim parents feel like, okay, well, you know, this is the normal thing, and why not? You know, they might not be religiously educated enough to know that, well, you shouldn't be partaking in the holidays of other religions. And they just go with the flow, basically. And even those who might know that, okay, this could be religiously problematic, or there are question marks, they ultimately want to fit in. And the very thought of going contrary to the culture disturbs them, and maybe frightens them and makes them uncomfortable, and they don't want that kind of conflict, even if no one knows that they're not partaking in it, because sometimes Halloween falls on a weekend, and so the children aren't in school, or you're not at work, but the very thought of going against the culture or the status quo, it causes them a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and they just have to go with the flow. They just have to accept and adopt and assimilate. And this is a weakness. This is like a weakness in a person's psychology, in their resolve, their confidence, in their identity, who they are. And that's the point that I want to emphasize in this particular stream. There are many aspects of Halloween and why it's problematic Islamically, why Muslims should not partake in it. There's a lot of dalil and explanation that we can give. But what I thought was relevant for this year, 2025, speaking to Muslims, is this issue of identity, because it's a concern. Like, when we bemoan the fact that Muslims around the world are disunited, and there are all these civil wars breaking out between Muslims of one nation versus another, and these conflicts, instead of focusing on the bigger enemies that are literally genociding Muslims, ethnically cleansing Muslims, subjugating Muslims, instead of uniting to focus on that, repelling that harm, we're infighting. We are in this kind of malaise of nonstop sectarianism. And one of the major, if not the biggest, contributing factor to that is nationalism, is national identity. That we identify with a nation instead of like a ethnic or secular nation, instead of identifying with the entire ummah and having that kind of ummah first mentality. This is what we're suffering from. And national holidays are acutely impactful to your sense of identity, or to the identities of our children or our youth, the way that they view themselves. Because identity formation is something that develops over time. And if you are putting your children in costumes or having them celebrate certain days over others, you're having them partake in eating certain foods, going certain places, recognizing certain dates, putting certain symbols around your house, or putting your children in institutions that are honoring those symbols. It might be Halloween, it might be Christmas, it might be July 4th, it might be some kind of national holiday. Then you are creating and developing a nationalistic identity, or a cultural identity, or ethno-national identity. And the human capacity to identify as something or to affiliate him or herself with a nation, it's a limited resource. It's a zero sum. If you're going to be American, or you're going to be Saudi, or you're going to be Malaysian, or you're going to be Pakistani, that identity is going to, if you put more and more attention to that, partake in more and more of the holidays and the symbols and the rituals of that, for that identity, that leaves much less room. That leaves much less mental space, psychological space, spiritual space for being a Muslim. And this is something that practically you can see when Muslims say, like, I don't know why Eid, when Eid al-Fitr comes after Ramadan, or Eid al-Adha comes in Dhul Hijjah, that is not, I don't feel it's special, or I don't really get excited about it anymore. I don't really. Well, why is that? It's because you're going all out in partaking in Halloween and Christmas and Valentine's Day and Easter and July 4th, the National Independence Day, and on and on. Some of these Muslims are even celebrating Hanukkah. Some of them are even celebrating Hanukkah and Passover or whatever. So this is so of course those things are related. Of course those things are going to affect each other. You have less psychological, mental, and spiritual room to dedicate yourself to the Islamic rituals, the Islamic holidays, the Islamic symbols. You haven't cultivated that identity. You haven't developed that attachment. And that's a disaster for the ummah. And we suffer the consequences, like it's a domino effect. One of the big consequences is that you're going to be more inclined to go to war and to battle and to fight other Muslims. You view Muslims as your bigger enemy than non-Muslims, because the way that you're dividing the world, the way that you've segmented people in the world, is not the way that Islam requires, that Allah has revealed, that there are believers and there are disbelievers. There are mu'minun and there are kafirun. And this is the great divide. That is the true division of people, not only today, but throughout history. Those who believe in Allah and His messengers, and those who reject them. Those who believe in the books, the revelation that Allah, the Creator, has sent, and those who reject them. That's always been the true divide, as explained in Revelation. But instead of taking that taxonomy or categorization, you're taking a nationalistic categorization. Okay, there are Americans, and there are Canadians, and there are Mexicans, and there are the British, the French, the Germans, the Malaysians, the Pakistanis, the Turks, the Azerbaijanis, and so forth. That's the way that you are dividing the world, according to some arbitrary lines drawn on a map that were determined 100 years ago and that are constantly changing. Just something that's ultimately very arbitrary, something that is contemporary, just a function of our current times, as opposed to what is timeless, as opposed to what it cuts to the core of what it means to be a human being, what cuts to the core of us as the creation of Allah. And even before we were born, this is what we were distinguished by. Because as we know that this is the fitrah that Allah has put within our soul even before we had a body. So that's what, that's Islam is teaching us, to go to the core of the reality, the spiritual reality, and understanding the world, categorizing people. But these holidays, these cultural practices, these nationalistic rituals, they take you further and further away from that. They psychologically condition you to start accepting a different model, a different paradigm, a different lens, different sight with which to see the world. And that's a disaster. And there's all these trickle-down effects that we then suffer from, and we bemoan And we haven't addressed the root cause. You know, why are we so divided? Why are we so nationalistic, sectarian? Many reasons, but one reason, one core reason, one important reason is that you are partaking in these rituals, these non-Muslim rituals. You are assimilating these practices, and you are indoctrinating your children into them as well. So that's the larger context that I want you to keep in mind as we go through this material here, inshallah. So let's get started by looking at what one compassionate imam has said. He has become a pretty regular feature on Haqiqatjou for good reason. This is our old friend Suhaib Webb, and he put out this Instagram reel or whatever you call it. And let's listen to what he has to say about this question. The spooky 2025, I guess that's what the people in the ghetto, the gangsters, the thugs call Halloween. They don't call it the Halloween. They call it the spooky. The spooky. He's so cool. Can I give kids in my neighborhood candy when they trick or treat? Exclamation mark. Okay, so I guess there's a question. Let's see what he has to say.
So this is a complicated issue, which I have to be honest, I feel like most people aren't properly trained to discuss, especially in the English language. And when something's presented in a knowledge-rooted way, they get really upset and they start to attack. So I'm going to say this, and I want people to listen very carefully. Number one is, in fatwa, we don't care about what something was, what some pagans did 8,000 years ago. They're not doing that now. It has a completely different meaning. It's a very culturally neutral holiday. So then it falls under urf, custom, and the asl for urf, the foundation for any custom, as long as there aren't overtly haram things in it, is permissible. Number two is, if it's culturally neutral, it doesn't have anything impermissible, sort of celebrating gore and the occult and magic and all that stuff, what's wrong with giving kids or taking candy? Nothing wrong with that. And that's the last point. If it does overtly involve those evil things like magic and sorcery, and you're not able to teach your kids like how to navigate that, then it's not allowed.
Okay.
So this is
his answer. It's a typical answer. He says, well, this is cultural. Like Halloween, this is a cultural thing. And what's wrong with giving candy? And as long as you're not doing like some magic seance with a witch and literally calling on the dark spirits, if you're not literally doing that, then what's wrong? There's no religious element here. No, there's no religious element. And just what pagans were doing 8,000 years ago, what pagans were doing like 6 million years ago, it doesn't matter to the practice today. So what's wrong? Like, what's your issue? What's your issue, man? And you're not capable of discussing this. You don't have the knowledge. Notice how he began the whole clip with, people don't have the knowledge. He has the knowledge. All right, so interestingly, he says that, well, Halloween is just cultural. And it's funny because these compassionate imams, when it comes to Halloween or 4th of July, like Independence Day or even Valentine's Day, they will use this kind of line of argumentation that, that's not religious. Like Valentine's Day, dedicated to Saint Valentine, is not a religious thing. It's just, you're just going on a hot date with your wife, or you're having a romantic session with your wife. What's wrong with that? Giving her flowers and chocolates. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, so you can justify all of these cultural holidays with this kind of reasoning. And that's the point. Like, that's the kind of seed that he's planting in the minds of Muslims so that they will apply it to pretty much everything using this kind of logic. But for other holidays that are more religious, he has a similar view, or he also deems those to be allowed. So look at this. This was hit from 2012 on Christmas, December 25th. And he says the European Fatwa Council, made up of 20 of the world's greatest Muslim jurists, stated that it's permissible to greet people on these days and even exchange gifts, Christmas gifts, as long as it does not involve approving any creedal differences between us or open evil like drinking alcohol. In other words, a simple happy holidays is not a sin or going to take that person out of Islam. It is reported with authentic chains that Ali radiallahu anhu celebrated the Persian New Year, even eating ice cream with Imam Abu Hanifa's relative. Many of the fatwa quoted by sincere folks are rooted in an age of empire and war, i.e. the Crusades, or a social reality that does not fit ours in the West. Most importantly, a person should ask those who use words like haram, kufr, halal, and encouraged about their religious training. Yelling and overblown emotionalism does not equal training and scholarship. Allah knows best. So much to analyze in this. And there was a kind of detailed refutation that we published several years ago on MuslimSkeptic by a very knowledgeable scholar. You can go to MuslimSkeptic.com, and the title is Greetings and Congratulating Non-Muslims on Their Holidays, Halal or Haram. So this article is looking at a number of scholars, including Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who is associated with the European Fatwa Council. Also Hamza Yusuf and Abdullah bin Bayya, who also give a similar fatwa, and Suhaib Webb. So explicitly refuting this post. So what else? You can go to that if you want further details. Like, for example, Ali celebrated the Persian New Year. What? So first of all, like, this is, the narration is weak, so you can do it. It's not analysis of that. But even regardless of that, eating ice cream, like Ali eating ice cream, that means he's celebrating the New Year. He's celebrating, like, you're adding a lot to these narrations to make it sound like this is what Ali radiallahu anhu, the fourth caliph, was doing. So then, so he says that in this post, he's saying, okay, Christmas, it has a religious basis. It's a religious holiday, but as long as you don't explicitly approve creedal differences, you don't explicitly say that, yes, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. As long as you don't say that, then it's perfectly fine. Go ahead. Go to the Christmas party, exchange gifts, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, everyone. Maybe wear a Santa costume. Why not? Santa has a nice, big, bushy, white beard. Just go and dress up as Santa. Bring on the reindeer. Well, it's just cultural, bro. It's just cultural. Don't you have the religious knowledge like me to know? Why not? So this is the grift of Suhaib Webb. It doesn't matter what the holiday is, whether it's religious or cultural, secular or not. He has a justification. His knowledge, mashallah, his religious training that all these compassionate imams have, they're able to tell us that they're able to find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way to celebrate Christmas and Halloween and Easter and Valentine's Day. Where there's a will, there's a way. So this is Suhaib Webb's fiqh. This is his fiqh. This is his understanding, the level of his understanding. And again, he doesn't have any kind of concern about the bigger things that we talked about. And one of the key Islamic principles that he ignores very deliberately is tashabbuh. Tashabbuh bil kuffar, which means to imitate the kuffar. And this is something that is not very much discussed by compassionate imams because it goes contrary to assimilation. It goes contrary to adopting, especially in those practices that are explicitly contrary to Islam. It goes against adopting those practices like Halloween. like celebrating Independence Day or these other practices, these other cultural practices. So someone like Sohaib Webb and other compassionate imams, they are contributing to nationalism by nullifying this principle of tashabbuh bil kuffar. They're not teaching it. They're not even acknowledging this. Like, this is a factor. Like, imagine if in the United States, like, the government tomorrow says that, guess what? Everyone is going to be celebrating Chinese holidays, and we're going to start dressing in Chinese clothes, and we're going to start using Chinese expressions. And yeah, these holidays involve certain practices, and we're just all going to adopt that, in the United States. This is a decree. And it would be obvious that this is going to have a huge impact, especially if it's continued over a long period of time and children are involved in it, that's going to change the nature of the American people. It's going to change their culture. It's going to change their identity, their attitude. It's going to have huge repercussions over time. Everyone can recognize that. Like, you're going to be less American and more Chinese. So why can't we understand that when we adopt, especially like these holidays, especially like these holidays associated with rituals like trick-or-treating, dressing up in a costume, listening to certain music, watching certain movies, etc. Like, why can't we recognize that will have a huge effect on how we view ourselves as Muslims, how we identify? Like, are we just being taken over? Like, we're being mentally taken over by a mind virus that's being implanted into our psyche? I think that's clear that's what's happening. So even if you put aside the consideration of, okay, Halloween is based on a pagan holiday, Christmas is based on a religious celebration of Christians, so is Easter, etc. Even if we put aside that discussion, which is an important discussion, and I'm not saying that Sohaib Webb has gotten this correct in his evaluation that, it's from 8,000 years ago, it's from 6 million years ago, therefore it's just cultural. Like, I'm not saying that that's a correct diagnosis from Sohaib Webb. But even if we put that aside, let's look at the bigger effects. Let's look at the bigger impact on the ummah. And the irony is that someone like Sohaib Webb and these other compassionate imams, these other modernist, wasatiyah, promoting modernists, if you don't know what this ideology of wasatiyah is, go watch one of our previous Haqiqat shows where we analyze this kind of modernist reform that's been promoted by figures like Yasir Qadi, Hatem al-Hajj, etc. And it's coming from, the colonial period. But these people who promote that are all about maslaha. They're all about, let's look at the maslaha, let's look at the mafsada, let's look at the public benefit. Let's not focus on the nitty gritty of halal and haram. Let's not focus on the nitty gritty of, the details of fiqh and the usul al-fiqh. Let's just override all of that with maslaha. Let's override that with maslaha. And things like, for example, when do you start the month of Ramadan? Do you do it through sighting the moon? As all the scholars have said, that's how the month begins. And this is from the Quran and Sunnah. Or can we resort to calculations, calculating the beginning of the month and when the moon is visible? And all the proponents of maslaha say that bypass the discussion of fiqh, they bypass the dalail, the proofs from the source texts, and they go immediately to a discussion of, look at the benefit of having a very clear calendar that in advance when the month starts. You can schedule things better. You can get vacation from your workplace so that you can better observe Ramadan or better observe Eid. If you can calculate it in advance, look at all these benefits. That's the maslaha reasoning. Look at the maslaha of the entire world, the entire ummah coming together on one Eid, coming together on one beginning of the month of Ramadan because they all adopt calculation. Isn't that such a great benefit as opposed to sighting where the moon is not visible in certain parts of the world at the same time, or it might be cloudy or whatever, what have you? Isn't that a great benefit? This is maslaha reasoning. So they want to do that for everything, but when it comes to like an issue that so clearly has a harm, it's actually harming the ummah on a macro scale and a micro scale, they get into technicality. They get into, well, is it technically haram to go and give candy on one particular day of the year? And is it technically haram to dress up in a costume on one particular day of the year and to gather? Is it technically haram? Suddenly they're all about technicality. They're all about looking at the granular details, the nitty-gritty, as opposed to looking at, well, what is the bigger impact? Interesting double standard. It always, I mean, it's a double standard when it comes to Islam, but when it comes to the dominant culture, the monoculture, it always goes one way. How can we better accept and adopt and assimilate to this monoculture? And it's just a matter of how can we justify that according to fiqh? And that's what makes these compassionate imams so famous. You know, even if we put aside the fact that they get state support and they are sponsored and platformed by state institutions, very powerful liberal institutions, even when we put that aside, they just cater to people's desires. They cater to a desire for people to fit in and adopt what is the dominant culture, as opposed to resist that, or as opposed to be independent from that, or cultivate a Islamic identity, an Islamic way of life that is independent of the way of life that is imposed on us, or we are told that there's no other way. There's no other way. It's either the liberal, secular, feminist path of life, or it's nothing. And anything other than that is going to be, it's either barbaric, it is closed-minded, it is irrational, or it is even like terroristic. So compassionate imams are not willing to step in and counter that or challenge that, and that contributes to their popularity. That contributes to their worldwide acclaim and fame. So now we see masajid who, alhamdulillah, they've been shamed. And this is the power of shaming. This is the power of shaming culture. And this is the power of the haram police. Okay? There's nothing wrong with the haram police. Always remember that. They are not openly advertising Halaloween. Halaloween has been tabled. No more Halaloween. Now they have alternative names for doing fun activities with kids on October 1st in the evening in Maghrib, after Maghrib. So they just rebranded. They just use different names, but it's basically the same thing, but they're advertising it as like, no, this is an alternative. This is all the kuffar. They have Halloween. We Muslims, we have a fall festival. We have a night of light. Night of knowledge. This is their rebranding. So let's look at some of these examples. I just did a Facebook search real quick, and I quickly was able to find like a bunch of examples. This is from both this year and last year. So Islamic Center of Greater Austin, mark your calendars for an unforgettable fall family fest. When? Friday, October 31st. Okay, join us this year for a big family event filled with delicious food trucks, dessert vendors, bizarre fun activities, and exciting rides. Borhan Academy says, we're excited to invite you and your friends and family to our second annual Family Books and Barakah Fall into Faith. Oh, another fall festival. Face painting, scavenger hunt, and games. Chai, ooh, snacks, desserts. Looks really fun. The fall, it's the fall. And again, this is like also, by the way, like a pagan kind of practice to celebrate the seasons. Like, oh, it's the fall, it's the spring, it's the winter, like marking the seasons. That's actually a feature of paganism, and now Muslims are following them into the lizard hole, basically. New Brunswick says, skip the Halloween festivities and join us for our youth night and kids program. So the kids program, a fun fall evening. You know, they have the fall festive imagery in the background of these posters. Masjid Khatim al-Anbiya says, say no to Halloween. Say yes to the masjid. A night of fun, faith, and learning. After Maghrib on October 31st. Masjid Omar bin Khattab says, please bring your children to the masjid on October 31st instead of trick-or-treating. And we're going to talk about the unseen realm, insights into jinn, shaitan, and seeking divine protection. Let's see. West Cleveland. Looking for an alternative to trick-or-treating? Join us for a fall fun night. Games, pizza, dua. Clear Lake Islamic Center. This is from last year. Skip the scary. Join us for a night of food, fun, and faith. It's interesting language. It's like it's coming from a church. Like this is how churches describe their events. Like a night of food, fun, and faith. As Halloween traditions unfold around us, let's come together for an evening that's filled with warmth, laughter, and community. Bring the whole family to the masjid from 6 to 9 tonight for games, delicious food, and activities that everyone will enjoy. You know, it's interesting because usually when the masjid has a kind of a festival, it's during the daytime because you need outdoor space. Like you need space to set up like a bouncy house and to set up booths. If you're going to serve food, you don't want to serve food in the masjid. It's going to cause a mess if you have hundreds of people coming in to get food. You have to do it outside. But if you do it outside at night, like why do it at night? Why do it at night? You should do it in the day where people can see, where, you know, especially when you're bringing children, like you're bringing children to a crowded place. The reason that they're doing it at night is as an alternative to Halloween, is as an alternative, you know, an equivalent parallel. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Like, if you really want to have a night of food, fun, and faith, if you really want to have a festival, do it on the weekend. Do it on the weekend so you can have it during the daytime. How about that? No, it has to be on Friday, a weekday. Friday, because Friday is October 31st. Friday is Halloween. So we have to have it on Friday. And because people are at work during the day, we have to have it at night. We have to have it at night. Don't forget to wear your best Palestinian and Lebanese attire. We'll be hosting a cultural wear competition to celebrate and honor the heritage of our brothers and sisters facing hardship. Show your support and pride by joining in this special part of the night. Yeah, so I don't know what this has to do with Islam. At the Islamic Center, and usually when you're wearing attire, like who's that catering to? It's catering to women. It's catering for women to come and dress up so that people can look at them and look at their Lebanese and Palestinian attire or their cultural attire. It's for women to play dress up. You know, you're a grown ass woman and you're dressing up for the masjid, for people to come and look at you. It's not the brothers. It's not the men who are dressing up and, I'm getting my best attire. Like, maybe there are some brothers, some maybe more effeminate brothers that enjoy that. For the bros, like, hey, check it out, bro. Look at look at my best attire. Like, check it out. Like, it's not the way that men think. But it's interesting, you know. This is what happens when women are running your masjid, I guess. Naperville, join us October 31st. Family fun night. Okay, it's just family fun night, October 31st. Dar al-Islah. Light over fright. Skip the costumes for an evening of faith, fun, and food. Like, again, the expression, faith, fun, and food. Faith, fun, and food. Where are they getting this from? Islamic Center of Frisco. Join us for an evening of outdoor fun with bouncy houses, food trucks, and games. Fall-tastic evening. Also, 6 to 8 p.m., October 31st. 6 to 8 is dark. It's getting dark. Okay, Maghrib is between 6 to 7 now, depending on where you are in, this part of the world. It's getting dark. Why? How are the kids are going to be doing a bouncy house in the dark? They're going to be hitting each other and knocking into each other. A lot of injuries. I hope the masjid is insured. You're going to get sued for injuries to the children because you're having a bouncy house at night. This is not safe. Forget about, these other concerns. It's not a safe environment for your children. So when I see this, when I see these kinds of things, they're getting smarter, I guess. They're getting smarter. They're not calling it Halloween. They're not calling it trick-or-treating. They're calling it faith, food, and fun. So I guess that's moving in the right direction, maybe. But from another perspective, it's the same slop. It's just rebranding. And when I see this, when I see Muslims kind of, you're doing the same thing, but you're just calling it a different name, it reminds me of Bani Israel. It reminds me of the verse of the Quran that I'll share with you here on the screen, where Allah is saying in Surah Al-A'raf, and we took the children of Israel across the sea, then they came upon a people intent in devotion to idols. They had some idols. They said, "O Moses, make for us a god, just as they have gods." And then Musa replied to them, "Indeed, you are people behaving ignorantly." So, subhanAllah, look at this verse. They have just been freed from the clutches of Fir'aun. Allah has sent Musa, one of the greatest prophets, one of the greatest messengers, to free them from the subjugation of Fir'aun, who was, by the way, killing their children and taking their women, freeing them from this. And then they're still not out of the woods yet, so to speak. And they see people, like some random people on the way, like they're not even important enough to be named by Allah in the Quran. They're just came upon a people and they say, "Oh, well, they have idols. We want idols. we want idols. So make for us a god." Imagine they're going to Musa and they're like, make for us a god. That's what you say to the messenger? That's what you say? Make for us a god, just as they have it, we want it too? So look at the mindset. And probably in their minds, they're like, well, calm down, Musa, because we don't want to worship their gods. We don't want to worship their God. We want our own gods. It'll be our own gods. A god for ourselves. Of course we're not going to worship their gods. Like that's not what we want. Perish the thought that we worship some other gods. No, we want our own. We want our own idols. So this is what Bani Israel is saying. It reminds me of some of these Muslims. It reminds me, like, of course, we don't want to celebrate Halloween. Perish the thought. Like, what are you thinking? That's haram. No, we want our own festival. We want our own fall festival with candy, with faith, food and fun. That's what we want. Not Halloween. Of course not Halloween. That's haram. So this is tashabbuh. This is like you're just imitating, you're aping. Like that's the best way to describe. You're aping the kuffar. Why? Like this is the nature of tashabbuh. Like why is tashabbuh so bad? Okay? Because when it comes to tashabbuh, like certain things, they have a practical purpose. Okay? So, oh, Daniel, you're imitating the kuffar because you drive a car. Or, oh, Daniel, you're imitating the kuffar because you use the internet. That's imitating the kuffar. No, you idiot. That's not what imitation of the kuffar means. Those all have a practical, functional usage. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ used swords, which the pagan Quraysh were also using swords. They also rode camels to travel distances, just like the kuffar were doing. That's not tashabbuh bil kuffar. Okay? But when you take a holiday, or you say, Moses, make for us a god, there's no functional purpose for that. There's no practical reason for that. You just feel an inadequacy. You feel like what Allah has given you of religion is not good enough. is not, you feel you're lacking, and you feel inferiority, and you want to imitate them. That is the cancer, that is the disease of the heart that will drive Bani Israel to desire for a god, for Moses to make a god, like these random people on the side of the road or wherever have a god. And they're so serious about this that they eventually did. They have their golden calf. They after Musa was not with them, and was on Mount Sinai, they made their golden calf. Like, that's how intent they are. That's how steeped in their ignorance they are. So Muslims are unfortunately aping this, and this is what the Prophet ﷺ foretold. Like, you will follow in their footsteps, hand span by hand span, even unto a lizard hole, even unto, like, the most stupid, ignorant place that you can follow someone is into like a hole in the ground that like bugs and lizards live in. Like, that's the most idiotic, blind, myopic thing that you can do, and Muslims are going to do that. Following who? The Sahabas. And is this referring to the people of the book? Is this referring to Jews and Christians? And the Prophet ﷺ said, who else? Who else? Of course, the Jews and Christians, and we're following them. And look at the Musa alayhi salam saying, indeed, you're people behaving ignorantly. You're ignorant. So what happened to compassion? Musa, where's the compassion for your people? You're going to turn people away. Where's the tone police to tell Musa, don't call them idiots. Don't say that they're retards. That's not compassion. You're going to turn Bani Israel away. But that's what, and there are many examples in the Quran, actually, where this is a theme of Musa alayhi salam calling Bani Israel ignorant. Like, you are jahil. You are a bunch of johal. You are ignorant. You're idiots. You're just a bunch of retards, like, because of the things that you're asking, the things that you want, the commands of Allah that you ignore, or that you try to find a way to weasel out of. You're just a bunch of ignoramuses. Where's the compassion? Where's the compassion for those who think that they know compassion and mercy and rahmah better than Allah and better than the messengers who want to tone police others? So yeah, and it's also interesting that Musa alayhi salam didn't say that you're a bunch of kuffar. Like, isn't that interesting? They want the messenger to make them a god. And Musa alayhi salam didn't say you're a bunch of mushrikeen. Like, you're a bunch of kuffar, you're a bunch of mushrikeen. He said you're ignorant. So that's notable. That's notable because this is the concept of udhr bil jahl. Al udhr bil jahl means the excuse of ignorance. So this is why we're careful about doing takfir and saying, even for like practicing Halloween or practicing, like, even normalizing Halloween and all this, we don't say that you're a bunch of kuffar, you're a bunch of mushrikeen. We don't takfir them. Say, this is ignorant. This is ignorant behavior. And yeah, we can do a little clowning. We should do a little clowning. We should do a little shaming. We should do a little. And so now look at this part. Look at this part. So you think that the Muslims are the first ones? Like, these Muslims that are having a fall-tastic evening full of fun, food, and faith. Fun, food, and faith. You think that this is something that Muslims initiating? Like, this is a trick that Muslims came up with? Like, to do a little switcheroo? It's not Halloween. It's fall-tastic evening, a night of light. No, this is... Who are they? Who is this copying? Let's see. So I asked ChatGPT, what are some holidays that Jewish communities created as an alternative to Christian or pagan holidays or celebrations? And ChatGPT tells me, excellent question. Excellent question, Dan. That's what I like about ChatGPT. It always tells me I'm asking it excellent questions. It affirms me. And I need that boost in self-esteem. This is a rich area of historical and sociological overlap between Jewish and surrounding cultures. Throughout Jewish history, particularly in the diaspora, some Jewish communities did indeed create or adapt holidays and customs that served as alternatives or counter celebrations to surrounding Christian or pagan festivals, often to preserve distinct identity or to reframe a season in Jewish religious terms. Wow, very interesting analysis. Very interesting way to put it, ChatGPT. Like this, I didn't prompt, by the way, ChatGPT with anything other than this question. Like, what are the holidays that they celebrate as an alternative? And this is the way that ChatGPT describes it. Like, isn't that interesting and telling? So, Hanukkah as an alternative to Christmas and ancient solstice festivals. The origins, 2nd century BCE, commemorating the Maccabean revolt and rededication of the temple. Function in the modern area, especially in Christian majority countries. Hanukkah gained cultural prominence as a Jewish alternative to Christmas. Purim, also an alternative to Lent, another Christian and other spring festivals. Tu Bishvat as a Jewish response to agricultural or nature festivals. These are pagan festivals. Lag BaOmer as an alternative to Christian May festivals. Simhat Torah and autumn rejoicing. That's pretty much the fall festival. Christian harvest festivals, pagan festivals. So both Jews and Christians, we can do the same exercise for Christians historically. Now Christians are kind of the dominant culture, but when they were not, and it was like the pagan Roman Empire that was dominant for the first 300 years or so of Christianity, they would also, create alternatives. They would also create, or when, the Christianity was adopted by the Roman Empire, they didn't get rid of their pagan festivals. They just rebranded them using Christian terminology. And this is what Jews and Christians do. This is what Jews and Christians do throughout their history. Okay, so those are some examples. And Muslims just blindly following, imitating, aping. It's a shame. We should know better. And because what is you want to have, and that's the thing I don't understand. Like, why are you catering to little children? Ultimately, that has to be said. Like, that's an aspect of it that I haven't mentioned. Like, why are you catering to little children? I have little children. Can you tell your kids no? Can you tell your kids we don't do that, or explain to them? Like, fine, you don't want to tell them no outright. Just explain. Like, it's not difficult to explain. And children are the most understanding. Like, you're literally a child's parent. A child naturally sees you as the highest authority. What you say has so much weight in the mind and the psyche of a child, and you're not using that to mold them. You're not using that power that Allah has given you to mold your children in your image. That's a huge lost opportunity. Instead, you're shipping off your kids to these public schools and allowing them to mold your children in their image. This is such a wasted opportunity for you as a parent. Like, what's the point of having children? What's the point of having children if you're not going to raise them in your image as being a strong Muslim, believing Muslim? Like, what a wasted opportunity. Like, this is so much, human capital, let's call it, that the Ummah is wasting, that so many Muslim parents are wasting because they outsource raising of children to the enemies of Islam or people who don't care about Islam. They don't believe in Allah and Islam and the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what a wasted opportunity. So when you have that very accepting audience of your children, just explain, like, tell them whatever you need to tell them to get them to not view Halloween as something as acceptable, or feeling the need or the craving to have an alternative to it. Like, oh, my friends are having candies. Oh, they're going out and they're wearing costumes. Like, who cares? Who cares? Who gives an expletive about that? Like, you can talk to your kids like that. You can talk to your kids. You can explain things to your children. And if you do it the right way, they'll love it. They will be indoctrinated to the point where your children, like, you take them out and they see some Halloween decorations. They're like, it's food. Like, they get upset about Halloween, and you have to like calm down. It's okay. Like, don't worry. Like that, they're just doing their cultural thing. We don't partake in it, but you don't have to get angry. You don't have to, go on a jihad. Like, yeah, you have to like tone it down a little bit, but you can do that with your kids. It's not hard. It's not hard at all, and they can still be, productive members of the ummah, of society, without having the need to just ape everything that they see around them. It's possible, despite what the compassionate imams will tell you, despite what the masjid boards put on in terms of events. Yeah, like parents who are the slaves, you've become like the slave of your child. Like your child is like, you're bending over backwards, trying to accommodate. Oh, what will we do if on October 31st, we don't have something for these kids? If we don't have something in terms of entertainment, in terms of fun, food, and faith, what's going to happen? My child is going to literally whip me. Like, chillax. Like, who cares? Like, don't you say that to your kids sometimes? Like, they're like, Mama, Baba, can we go somewhere? Can we do something? And I'm like, sorry, no. No, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. Like, not today. Like, I'm starting to think that a lot of Muslim parents don't tell their children no. Okay, so that is the American side. What's happening internationally? What kind of musibah is being spread to the rest of the world? So we know Saudi Halloween. We got to talk about Saudi Halloween. Despite what the Madkhali Wahhabis are gonna spurg out about. So clips are being shared on TikTok, Instagram. So yeah, let's see what this is in Saudi. I don't know. This is some performance. There are zombies or Frankensteins. All these women in hijab. Yeah, just these public performances, and you have women in hijab and jilbab around them videotaping. It's like a spectacle. What else? People dressed as zombies, prison inmates, yeah, playing instruments. It's a grand old time. Oh, I also shared. Hold on, where is it? And the thing about the adoption of these parties, Halloween celebration overseas, is that they're taking like the worst aspects of Western Halloween. So at least when it comes to these masajid or Islamic centers, it's like kid-oriented, child-oriented. But when it comes to Saudi or Dubai, it's directed towards the adults. It's directed towards the young adults. So they're taking the most degenerate aspects. Because we know in the West, Halloween is pretty much the most degenerate holiday. Like the whole point of Halloween for women is to dress like sluts. And they feel licensed. Like, okay, I'm not dressed like a complete slut for 364 days of the year, but on one day of the year, I can go all out and basically dress in my underwear. And it's a costume, like going out pretty much naked. And it's okay. It's okay because it's a costume. They feel licensed to do that. And that's what's being increasingly adopted overseas. So every year, it becomes more and more degenerate because the women are becoming more and more slutty in their costumes, and they're posting it on social media. And this is happening, miles from Mecca and Medina. So here, look at this. So I had to blur this because it's not appropriate from Halloween in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So that is that's what's happening in our Muslim countries. Now we wonder like why we're cooked. We wonder why we're being cooked. Then this wasn't exactly on Halloween, but there was this kind of demonic concert in Saudi, in Riyadh, with Eminem, the rapper. And this was he's coming out of a coffin. Here, I'll just mute it. He's coming out of a coffin with a costume, like this kind of serial killer costume. Like, this is like a 55-year-old man. And he's still doing dress up and acting like this. So, you know, Saudi concerts. Dancers in the back. You know, women dancers. So the song that he's singing, the title of this song is Lucifer. Iblis, like that's the title of the song. And I wanted to see like what these lyrics actually are. And I was just shocked by the lyrics. Because it's like open Satan worship. So look at this. But if this is what he'd do to his mom, imagine what he'd do to you. I'm a lunatic armed, and if it's you, I use the clip-on for you to respond is ludicrous. Ma, look at what your uterus spawned, Lucifer. Must be a cold day in hell. Tell me, what have we done? Take me out of my misery. I bought heaven when it was up for sale, and now I need a refund. So, openly satanic. He wants to be in hell. He's the devil's spawn, Lucifer's spawn. I think someone messed with my meds probably. I bet it's my ex, Molly, that I've bludgeoned to death. Already severed the head. I smell the fresh scent of flesh rotting. So it's breakfast in bed. If I wake up next to a dead body, multiple lacerations, contusions, abrasions, bruises, hallucinations, delusions, abusive, my language usage. I was down bad, broke and almost abandoned hope. Now my followers are like a satanic cult. Interesting lyrics there, right? Then this was, I thought, noteworthy. This is the same song. Before I get banned, kicked off Twitter and TikTok because they so damn ticked off, bitter, they want me to bounce like a fabric softener. We just got rid of Ye. Go kick rocks with him. So Eminem, when Kanye West, this other musician, started criticizing Jews and going DEFCON 3 on Jews and saying that, you know, Jews are running the media and the music industry, etc., criticizing Israel. So the music industry canceled Kanye West, and Eminem also comes out. Go kick rocks. Like, Eminem was so offended. He was so offended that Kanye West is criticizing Jews and praising Hitler. Eminem clutched his pearls. He was so offended. Like, how could he? Meanwhile, literally in the same song, he's talking about bludgeoning people to death, his ex-wife severing her head, you know, rubbing the blood of his ex-wife that he's just murdered on him because he's lying next to her dead body in bed. And his followers are a satanic cult. Like, that's not offensive. Like, that's not out of bounds. But if you say something nice about Hitler, or you say something about criticizing Jewish power, then that's a bridge too far. And then also Candace Owens. And Candace O, I ain't mad at her. I ain't gonna throw the fact expletive forgot she was black back at her, laugh at her like them crackers she's backing after her back is turned in a cute MAGA hat with her brand new White Lives Matter shirt, or say this MAGA dirtbag in a skirt. So he's also criticizing Candace Owens. What is Candace Owens infamous for? In, you know, when this song came out in 2024, she's infamous for criticizing who? So it's interesting that Eminem focuses his ire and his criticism on the critics of Israel and Jewish power. That's too far. And the irony of all ironies is he's criticizing Candace for pretending to be white, for not being true to her race, not being true to being a black woman. She's trying to be white, just like the crackers. The irony of Eminem, the white rapper, saying this. So yeah, this is the Lucifer song. And then this is how the song ends. But when you reach these heights, freedom of speech dies. With every line that I recite, them PC police try to throw me in jail with no bail like a peace prize. At least that's what it seems like. And I'm Lucifer, and Dre's the producer for the Antichrist. Yeah, I'm sure you, being flown all over the world, performing your concerts in Saudi with these lyrics, your speech is being constrained, right, Eminem? Like your free speech rights are not respected, right? But Kanye West and Candace Owens, who have been canceled, at least Kanye West has, they have been shut down. Those are the people that you attack. So it's so bizarre. It lacks self-awareness. And then it's like openly demonic. It's like openly promoting the Antichrist. He is calling himself Lucifer and the Antichrist. And he's performing this in Saudi Arabia, in a Muslim country. What was supposed to be what was a deeply conservative, religious Muslim society. Now this is the slop that they are paying tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for. So, and yeah, and then other than Saudi, you have Dubai and the UAE. Halloween 2025, child-friendly events and activities in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And then this picture of like it's like, this is a demonic picture. Like, this is a contorted body, like clown from hell. This is child friendly, supposedly. Says this is from this year, 2025. Dubai is going all out for Halloween 2025. Here's where to celebrate all the spooktacular events you just can't miss. Top Halloween events in Dubai, says the Khalij Times. Family fun, free treats, and spooky experiences. So it's funny that when it comes to their Halloween, they don't add the faith part. It's just fun and food. They don't add the faith part because they don't have to like LARP. They don't have to pretend like it's something that it's not. Unlike these masajid, in the West. So yeah, that's you know, if you don't laugh, you cry. What can I say? If you're interested in more Halloween information, like not more Halloween information, but like how to talk to your kids about it, or the pagan origins of Halloween, there are a lot of articles on MuslimSkeptic. Just do a search for Halloween. How to explain Halloween to your children. That's by Khalid, my wife. A couple of articles from me. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. Let me just look at my notes. Anything that I forgot to mention? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So And people will ask, like, well, what's the solution, Daniel? What's this the solution? And the very fact that you asked that question tells me that you're an idiot. Because the solution is just don't do it. Don't participate. Like, it's not hard. Like, this is not some... But the way in your mind, like, some of these people are so psychologically defeated, so mentally colonized that they don't see any alternative. Like, what could possibly be the alternative to celebrating Halloween or having some kind of commemoration of the day, October 31st? And what alternative could there possibly be? Like, just don't partake in it. Like, you don't have to do anything on October 1st. Probably I'm just going to be sitting on my couch. Probably I'm going to be, that's it. Like, there's nothing that I need to do. And if there are trick-or-treaters that come to my house from the neighbors, I ignore them. I ignore them. By this point, they know there's no candy here. There's no candy at my house. And they're fine with that. There's no problem. There's no problem. My neighbors like me and my family, and we're on good relations, and they respect me, and they know that, okay, well, they're not going to do anything for Halloween. They're not going to do anything for Christmas. No problem. It's not a disaster. It's not like there's nothing. There's nothing there for there to make me anxious or stressed or to worry. And when I went to work, when I was working like in a corporate office, and we were in this big high rise at one of my jobs, and people had cubicles. At that point, people were using cubicles. It wasn't like an open concept office. And my coworkers went all out for Halloween decorating their cubicle. Like, I was thinking, how do they have time to get all of these decorations, buy them, and then put them up? And that takes time. Like, do you not have, you're supposed to be working. You're supposed to be working, putting in your 9 to 5, trying to make the company successful, but you're like spending a lot of time on decorations. And then by contrast, so you had all these different cubicles, and mine is connected there. And so you had, everyone is like festooned with spider webs and witches and cauldrons and pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. And mine is just bare. Nothing there, except, I have my computer, I have my papers for work, I have my mug, my coffee mug. That's it. Like, so it's a very stark contrast. No one said anything. No one said, yeah, Daniel, you might want to put some, get into the holiday spirit. Why aren't you? No one said anything. No one cared. Maybe they were thinking, judging me mentally, like, what a loser or what a freak, but I didn't feel any kind of... They didn't express it in any way that would make me uncomfortable. So, and even if they did, so what? Like, I'm not here for your approval. I'm here for a paycheck. I'm here to get paid my paycheck so I can pay rent. That's why I'm here. I'm not here for a Halloween celebration or Christmas or Valentine's or whatever. So that is Halloween. Okay, now I want to look at the Wahhabis. And we know that the Wahhabis, they first started attacking me 3 years ago because I criticized Saudi Halloween, and then I suddenly became the number one enemy of the Wahhabis. They started disavowing me. If they had collaborated with me in the past, they started deleting the videos. Why? Because I criticized Saudi Halloween. You can't do that. You can't criticize the rulers. That's bid'ah. You don't have the right aqidah, Daniel. You don't have the right aqidah because you're criticizing the rulers. And as we know, that's not allowed. That's a bid'ah. So, yeah, I guess I'm incorrigible because I'm still criticizing Saudi Halloween and UAE Halloween. But no, there was a video that someone sent me based off of a live stream that our good old buddy Fareed made. He did a live stream and then he put it on private. But this brother actually recorded the stream or that section that was relevant. And let's react to it. Because he says some very interesting things, and I think we should comment on good old Fareed, Hindu temple apologist and Saudi Halloween apologist, because he's not going to call out the Saudi government or the UAE government or the Bahrain government or any government for celebrating Halloween. He's just going to make vague remarks, if anything, that, oh, it's theoretically, it's haram. Theoretically, but he's not going to actually call him out by name. And this is what all these Wahhabis do, like Adnan Rashid. They say that, I'm criticizing Israel normalization. I'm criticizing the Hindu temples. But they won't say explicitly. And this is the critique that I've always had from the beginning. Like, no, the problem is you're not specific. The problem is you're not calling out the specific behavior of this government because you don't want to be criticized by the followers of that government, the Madkhalis. You're saving your hide, so you're making it vague and theoretical. Yeah, theoretically, we shouldn't celebrate Halloween. Theoretically, we shouldn't build Hindu temples. Theoretically, we shouldn't normalize with Israel. But can you actually say this specific country is doing something wrong? Because that's what you require from me. You require that I specifically call out Iranian government. You require me specifically to call out and takfir specific scholars, specific individuals like Sheikh Salek. When it comes to specificity, you require that from me. But when it comes to you, you can be general, generic, abstract. Don't name names, don't name governments. That's a double standard. So if you're going to call me a shirk apologist, I'll call you a Hindu temple apologist. I'll call you a apologist for normalization with Israel and so forth. So let's look at what Fareed has to say in this.
In regards to Haqiqatjou, inshallah, guys, excuse me, I've just been busy. I've just been, in a different continent, so it was hard for me to record anything, to record any responses. But subhanallah, I just want to point something out, guys. It's very important. Some of you guys say, Fareed, focus on the non-Muslims, focus on refuting these Christian apologists, focus on these ex-Muslims. The reason why what Haqiqatjou is saying is more dangerous is because he is from among us. Yeah, when you have a Muslim, and now I know we're getting into a discussion over whether he still is a Muslim because of what he's saying. And according to Muhammad Abdul Wahab, the least, if you start defending shirk, especially in the way he's doing, the least that you are is like someone who's upon major fisk. Yeah, that's the least. In any case.
So this is like where the conversation is with the Wahhabis at this point. So they're debating, is Daniel a Muslim or not? And Fareed is saying, well, at the very least, he's a fasiq, but potentially he leaves it open. According to the standards of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, might, implying that, well, actually, could be a kafir, mushrik. And when you say that someone is a shirk apologist, like if you're apologizing for shirk or you're justifying shirk, what does that mean? That means you're a kafir. That means you're a mushrik. So this kind of soft takfir, soy takfir, but this is what the Wahhabis, like, they're just really chomping at the bit. They want to takfir. They want to say Daniel's a kafir, and many of them do. Many of them do. They've been saying that I'm a kafir. They're calling me a murtad. They are calling for my death. So this is the state of Wahhabism. And the funny thing is that they've proven me right over and over and over again, because I pointed out that, this is the main problem with Wahhabism. This is the main problem with Ibn Abdul Wahhab. He takfired the entire ummah and said only he understands Tawheed. And all the other Muslims who disagree with him on these aqidah issues of Tawheed is a kafir mushrik, and we have to fight jihad to kill them. And we have to take their wealth and we take their land. That's what Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab taught. And it's in his books, including Kitab al-Tawheed. So what I presented this in the Wahhabism documentary, you can see it on our channel. It's almost at 500,000 views. It's now the most well-viewed video on Wahhabism and the life of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab on YouTube and in the world. That's how popular, alhamdulillah, and well received it's been. And the response to this documentary by the Wahhabis is to prove it right by takfiring me, by saying, you don't agree with our definition of Tawheed, you're a kafir. And actually you're a murtad and your blood is halal. So they just prove the point. And notice how notice how he says that, well, some of you are telling me to focus on the kuffar, like to focus on the Christians, David Wood, the aposists, focus on that, not Daniel. And he says, no, Daniel is the priority because he's one of us. Like he pretends like he's a Muslim. He presents himself as a Muslim. So he's actually the bigger danger. He's the bigger threat. Exactly what Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab said. Exactly. This is exactly our critique of Wahhabism. That they view Muslims as a bigger threat, as a bigger fitna, as a bigger problem, as bigger proponents of shirk than actual mushriks, actual kuffar that are fighting against Muslims, that are attacking Muslims, that are invading Muslim lands, that are genociding Muslims. That's the whole critique of Wahhabism. That's the whole critique of Fareed, Jake, Adnan, and these Wahhabi tards. That was the whole critique. So everything that they do is just an affirmation of exactly what I've been telling you guys for the past year. This is exactly just like when I had the debate with David Wood. I had a debate with David Wood. David Wood is insulting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, attacking Islam as nonsense, as incoherent, attacking and insulting the Quran. They literally take pages of the Quran and they put it in the bathroom, or they eat it, or they desecrate it. Does Fareed attack David Wood in that instance regarding that debate? No, he starts attacking me. He starts attacking me. So, and here he's reaffirming that no, the bigger problem than David Wood or any of these other non-Muslims is Daniel.
He is perceived. Yeah, he's perceived by a lot of people as a Muslim. And if Haqiqatjou...
So he leaves the question of whether I am a Muslim, he leaves it vague and unanswered. Daniel is perceived as a Muslim, implying, yeah, he's not a Muslim, or he probably is not a Muslim.
Is saying things that undermine Tawheed, since he's validating in a way that has never been done before, the way he's validating this belief that humans control the universe.
So it's funny to me that here he says undermining Tawheed. I thought I was undermining shirk. Isn't that the expression that he always used? Daniel is undermining shirk. Now he's saying undermining Tawheed. And this, it always annoyed me. Like, does Fareed not know what undermine means? Like, shouldn't we be undermining shirk? Like, undermining something means like discrediting it, fighting against it, opposing it. That's, you undermine something by, weakening it or displacing it or combating it. So we should be undermining shirk, right? So why am I... So I always... Okay, this idiot means like you're undermining the severity of the crime of shirk. That's what he means. But now he's saying undermining Tawheed. So I'm undermining Tawheed. Okay, well that would make sense. That's more in line. So I think he just now realized what undermining means. Like, so he didn't know before. He was saying undermining shirk. Daniel is undermining shirk. That's a bad thing. Now he figured out what undermining means. Maybe one of his Wahhabi friends told him.
This is a much greater danger than David Wood. Much greater danger than Apos and all these guys.
All right, so he's saying Daniel is trying to justify human beings controlling the universe. So he deliberately phrases it in a way that I reject, that I've always rejected. That human beings are not controlling the universe because they're gods or they have some independent power. human beings can exercise some control over the universe. How? Through their dua, through their piety. This is explicit in the Quran and Sunnah. This is explicit in the Quran and Sunnah that human beings can exercise control over parts of the universe. This is explicitly in the Quran with the Anbiya, with the awliya. And I've shared all of those narrations, all of those nusus, all of the texts. And I've showed you what the scholars have said about those texts, what Ibn Hanbal says about those texts, what Ibn Taymiyyah says about those texts, what Ibn al-Qayyim says about those texts, what Suyuti, Subki, Ibn Hajar, Al-Haytami say about those texts. I've presented all of the evidence that show that, yes, exercising control over some parts of the universe, that is a Sunni belief. That is what Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah believes, including the Hanabila, including the Hanbalis. Now, Farid conveniently, in his responses, ignored those texts when it came to the Hanbalis. When it came to Imam Ahmad, Ibn Hanbal, Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn al-Qayyim, he ignored. Because those texts explicitly say that it's through ahwal, like states of the heart, like being pious, having tawakkul, that Allah gives power. Allah gives power to those individuals, to those awliya. This is what Ibn Taymiyyah is talking about. And Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah actually both include awliya in the graves. Awliya in the graves can exercise some control over the universe to such an extent that armies are being defeated. Armies are being defeated. Rain is being allowed to fall because of individuals in the grave. Like, this is not what I'm promoting. This is not what I am teaching. This is what Ibn Taymiyyah is teaching. This is what Ibn al-Qayyim is teaching. This is what Ibn Hanbal, Imam Ahmad is talking about, the Abdal. The 40 Abdal, and is relaying this narration about these pious individuals, that through them, victory is granted. Through them, rain is delivered. That's not my teaching. This is Imam Ahmad, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim. What do you have to say about that? Is that shirk? No response. Okay, this is months we're waiting for a response on this. Explain the issue. That's human beings exercising some control over the universe. Explain it, Farid. You know, tell us how that's shirk. And then make sure to accuse Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, and Imam Ahmad of being mushriks, or apologizing for shirk, advocating for shirk, or whatever. It's just unbelievable. It's just outrageous how he can continue to make these videos and pretend like he's addressed anything. He hasn't addressed anything. He hasn't addressed the narrations. He literally ignores them. And this is very dishonest of Farid. And this makes me question his sincerity. I mean, long ago I questioned his sincerity, but he just reaffirms that, are you really a sincere person? When you are presented with evidence, you just ignore it? You just ignore it, and then in the comments, you pretend like it's not relevant? And this is what I'm calling him out on in the Black Knight video that I released a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it's a week and a half. So it's very disgusting, dishonest. It's outrageous. Like, his followers, if you're a hardcore Wahhabi follower of Farid, like, you should be angry and upset that he is letting you down. And his excuse, I haven't had time. It's been months, bro. It's been months that you haven't addressed these narrations. And they're asking about him in the comments. They're asking, well, what about, like, if it's shirk to believe that a human being can exercise control over the universe, then I guess Imam Ahmad was a mushrik. I guess Ibn Taymiyyah was a mushrik or a shirk advocate. Ibn al-Qayyim was a shirk advocate. Not to mention Suyuti, Subki, and Al-Haytami. Or Al-Ramli, for that matter. Imam Nawawi, for that matter.
Yani, subhanallah. Imagine any shubha you think of, any argument against Islam that you think of, when it's coming from a Christian, it has, let's say, it has this much weight. Imagine a Muslim says the same thing. Oh, a Muslim is saying this. You as a Muslim, you naturally will be more open to it because you're thinking, yeah, this guy's one of ours. He's saying it. He's admitting to it. So, subhanAllah, Islam was sent, guys. Islam was sent in order to bring the people from the worship of idols, from polytheism to monotheism. Under this paradigm that Haqiqatjou is operating on, Islam wasn't about that, because apparently you can believe that humans control the universe. That's a valid belief. Can you imagine that?
Okay. Who said that it's valid, retard? Who said it's a valid belief? No one said. I never said that it's a valid belief. The whole disagreement, the whole issue is whether it is kufr, whether it takes you out of Islam. That is the whole debate. I didn't say it's valid. I said that, is it kufr? Does it take you out of Islam to have this belief that there is some exercise of control over the universe that a human can have through dua or through power that Allah grants an individual, whether it's a prophet or a wali? That's it. And I deny that it's kufr, that it takes you out of Islam. That if you have this belief, because if you think that it's kufr that takes you out of Islam, then you have to takfir Ibn Hanbal, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, As-Subki, As-Suyuti, Nawawi, Al-Ramli, Al-Haytami. You have to takfir all of them because they all have this belief in one form or another. Some of them believe that the prophets and awliya can exercise some control over parts of the universe. Others say even more than that, like Suyuti or Haytami or Subki. And I presented their narrations. And I've challenged you, Fareed, and your Wahhabi friends to takfir them, call them shirk apologists. Because notice what this whole thing is about, and I'll describe it to you. Why is this even an issue? Like, why are we even talking about this doctrine? Was this something that Muslims were talking about and debating? The issue of people, imams or prophets exercising control over the universe? Was this even on the radar of any Muslim in 2025 to talk about? Tell me in the comments, in the chat, was this something that people were talking about? Anyone even knew about this issue? Who brought it up? Who introduced this? Think about that, and we're going to answer it.
So what he's saying is directly contradicting the most basic teachings of Muhammad, peace be upon him. So all
right, so Ibn Taymiyyah didn't have the most basic understanding of Islam. But you, Fareed, and Ibn Abdul Wahhab, that ignorant Khariji, they knew. They were the first ones to understand. He was the first one to understand Tawheed. Okay. Okay. Over 1,000 years, 1,200 years after the Prophet ﷺ. He was the first one to understand. I mean, that's what he claimed himself. That's what he claimed for himself, that he was the first to understand it. But we're supposed to believe that. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Hanbal, Ibn al-Qayyim, Subki, Suyuti, Al-Haytami, they didn't understand the basics of Islam and the message of the Prophet ﷺ. It was Ibn Abdul Wahhab and Fareed and Jake.
I understand that some of you guys feel that this is, that, hey, you're responding to a Muslim. Bro, it's a much greater danger. This is a much bigger fitna than what these kuffar are saying. So
Okay.
more door.
It's a much greater fitna. It's a much greater fitna than what these non-Muslims are saying. Just think about that. Okay, if it's a much greater fitna, who introduced it? Who introduced this issue and made it a point of contention? It was you, idiot. It was you retard. You and the Wahhabis are the ones who introduced this. Let's wind back the tape. Who came out and started attacking me guns blazing? Wahhabi Jake, right? He said, what did he begin with? He said that Daniel is on his knees begging for an alliance with Christians. This is disgusting. He made a video. That was the opening salvo. When that didn't catch on, he switched gears. He said, we don't know what Daniel's aqidah is. And that became a big problem. That became the next line of attack. When that didn't stick, then they moved on to other issues. They are just groping and grasping, trying to find anything to discredit Daniel. Why discredit Daniel? Because he's criticizing Saudi and the UAE and the Abraham Accords. And he's criticizing Judaism, and he's becoming a real problem for these Gulf states. So we have to discredit Daniel. We have to find a way to discredit Daniel. So let's try these different ways. What's going to stick? What's going to work? Eventually, what they did was they found a clip from 7 years ago where I praise an imam, Sheikh Salek. I praise him. Then they scour, after scouring hundreds of hours of my material to find it, then they start scouring Sheikh Salek's material. And they see him teaching this concept of tasarruf fil kawn. And they say, aha, look at what he's teaching. This doctrine of tasarruf, control of the universe. Daniel praises Sheikh Salek. Then that means that Daniel endorses this doctrine. So Daniel, you have to come out and takfir Sheikh Salek. And if you don't, that means that you are discredited. That means you're also a mushrik, because we're applying this chain takfir principle. If you don't takfir the kafir, you're a kafir. This is what Ibn Abdul Wahhab teaches, right? This is what Farid believes, is chain takfir. So Daniel, you have to say he's a 5-star mushrik. So they're the ones who introduced this whole issue. Now Farid is saying, this big fitna that Daniel has created, was I coming out and teaching this or talking about this or validating this idea? No. They introduced it. They spread it as a weapon against me. And my point has always been consistent and very simple. The whole debate is about takfir. No, I will not takfir someone if there are no grounds for takfiring them according to established principles of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Not the deviant principles of the Khariji Ibn Abdul Wahhab. I reject those principles for this reason and this reason and this reason. But the principles of takfir of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, those are the principles that I adopt. And those principles do not allow me to make takfir of this individual for this doctrine. For this doctrine of tasarruf. Because guess what, retard? Ibn Taymiyyah also has this doctrine. Ibn al-Qayyim also has it. Ibn Hanbal has a form of it. These other scholars, Suyuti, Subki, Haytami, all of these great Sunni scholars all have this doctrine of tasarruf, of control, exercising some control over the universe. They all have it in one form or another. They're not all exactly the same. There are nuances and there's distinctions and there's different scopes of power that they will attribute. But they all use the term tasarruf, by the way, tasrif al-kawn. Ibn Taymiyyah uses that expression, exercising control. They all have it. So if I takfir Sheikh Salek, as you're demanding that I do, I have to takfir these other scholars and their statements. So let's look at what these scholars have said. Let's look in detail. That's why we've opened up this issue. It's because of your retarded Wahhabi attack, Farid and Jake and Adnan and whatever loser. It's because of you. If there's any fitna that you want to bemoan and complain about, oh, the fitna that is affecting the Muslims, oh, that's the fitna that you've created. That's the fitna that you've sown. Not me. Not me. The only thing that I want to avoid is illegitimate takfir. Have you not heard the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When you call one a kafir or you call someone oh kafir, one of them is a kafir. Do you know the risks involved in that? No, of course you don't, because your whole understanding of Aqidah is like from a pamphlet, from Kitab at-Tawheed. Like that's your whole understanding. You haven't studied Aqidah other than like pamphlets. So that's why you won't debate. That's why you won't debate. That's why you can't debate. That's why you can't even like in this protracted debate that's moving at a snail's pace, where he just makes these videos every month. He's not even addressing the main evidences that I'm providing. So imagine if it were a live debate. It would be humiliation. He can't even respond when he has weeks and months to respond. He can't even come up with a response. Imagine if it's on the spot. He's going to be humiliated. And I'm not going to let him get away with ignoring these narrations.
Is saying students of knowledge have been exposing Daniel's deviance for years, but people are finally opening their eyes, and it's about time. Mordor, you got to be aware of something. The people that responded to Haqiqatjou in the past were speaking about some of his issues in the past. Look at the issues back then, and look where we're at right now. Yeah, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. Yeah, subhanallah. People were having an issue with him for being critical against governments. People were having an issue with him in regards to some of what he was saying, in regards to being very pro-unity with innovative sects.
Yeah, you and your friends, like maybe not you explicitly, Fareed, but your friends, Sajid, these madkhalis, like your buddies, your madkhali circle, like they're the ones. Why are you talking about it like, oh, it's like a distant... No, this is like your circle. Like this is your people. Your madkhali friends. Like criticizing me for Saudi Halloween. So he's saying that Daniel's issues in the past, like they were not significant to the same extent as they are now. Now he's a shirk apologist. No, like my principles have been consistent. My principles have been very consistent on the principles of takfir, for example, my criticizing governments, wanting Muslims to ally together across sects. I've been 100% consistent for my entire dawah career for almost 15 years now. I've been completely consistent. You can go back and check. What has changed is that the attacks from Wahhabis, that's what's changed. And they want to get into all of these issues that I've settled a long time ago. Like you think this is my first rodeo? You think battling Wahhabis or these kinds of debates on Aqidah, like this is new for me? No. Like this, and I've presented like the Wahhabi life cycle, like this kind of fitna with Wahhabis and Aqidah arises on a cyclical basis. And in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was another like ramp up, inflaming of these kinds of debates. So all of these arguments, I've heard them, I've debated them, I've researched them. And I've said, my position has been like, this is not benefiting the ummah. Like renegotiating, relitigating these Aqidah debates from 1,000 years ago, from 500 years ago, this is not affecting the iman of the average Muslim today. What is affecting the iman of the average Muslim today is liberalism, secularism, Zionism, feminism. That's affecting families, it's affecting individuals, and it's affecting identity, like celebrating Halloween, it's affecting the Muslim identity, sectarian. These are the issues that we have to talk about, not and address, not like some arcane Aqidah debate, highly academic. And if we do bring these issues to the fore and start debating them and discussing them, it just does much more harm and damage. It causes confusion that we want to avoid. And now this moron, this retard Fareed, Hindu temple apologist, is saying, oh, the fitna, guys, the fitna. Oh, there's so much fitna that Daniel is causing. You idiot. It was me who told you and your friend Jake, your donkey friend Jake, we don't need to get into these Aqidah issues. We should not be debating these Aqidah issues. This is not relevant. This is not critical to Iman. This is not critical to Iman. To being Ahlul Jannah, to being accepted by Allah into Jannah. You're not going to be asked about these issues because Muslims are not practicing these things. This belief in tasarruf, 99.9999% of Muslims have never even heard of it. They don't even have a conception of it. Even the students of Sheikh Salek, by the way, when he taught this, even his students were surprised. They didn't know about it. And many of them rejected it. Even though he has a basis, like he's teaching what Suyuti is teaching and Subki and Haytami are teaching. And ultimately they trace it back to Imam Shafi. But even those students weren't making a big deal. Like this wasn't like a big issue that requires all this attention. You brought this to the people's attention. You created this fitna. I was opposed. I was completely opposed for exactly this reason. Now you're going to taste the fruits of that. Because it's been a disaster for Wahhabis. It's been a disaster, like these narrations that I'm bringing. And many more are coming, by the way. By the way, a lot more is coming. You'll be really surprised by some of the other things that the Hanabila said. And it's just a fitna. Like, it's just a nonstop fitna. The Wahhabism documentary. Like, tell me that hasn't done really incalculable damage to the Wahhabi dawah. So that's on you. You brought it. I wanted to abstain from these discussions. I wanted to abstain. And I said, I have the madhab of sukut. That's the wise path. The aqidah of sukut. Like, we don't need to delve into these issues and debate them. It's sufficient to believe in Allah and the angels and the books and the messengers and the last day and qadr. Like, that's sufficient. You don't need to delve into these debates from 500 years ago. Let's focus on atheism and liberalism and Zionism. No, you didn't want to do that. And so you just start this fight and you won't even face me like a man. Like, get on a live stream, bro. Let's debate tasarruf fil kawn and wilaya takwiniya and istighatha and tawassul, and let's debate them. No, you can't. You can't. You run away. So it's like such a shame. Like, you caused this mess and then you're crying about it and blaming me.
Okay, so let's say that's on this low in the scale. Now he's saying stuff that's going against the basics of Islam. He's going against Tawheed now. So the folks that say, yeah, we spoke about him, 5 years ago. Habibi, speak about him now. Now, this is the time you're supposed to speak about him. Not when the issues were this big compared to where they are now. Subhanallah. Don't say I told you so. Don't say I told you so. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. You warned about someone, and you are right in that regards. Especially now, that we see the trajectory of where it has gotten to. But yeah, don't stop. Don't stop. Some people, I see them. You know what's weird? I see some people being like, alhamdulillah, we told them. That, bro, Habibi, now you need to do the work. Now you need to do the work. Now you need to warn against him again. Now you need to warn against him harder.
Harder, guys. You need to warn against him because he's not making takfir. When he's supposed to be making takfir, he's not making takfir. So you have to warn him. Now he's challenging Tawheed because he's not making takfir. Like, we want him to make takfir. That's really what this is all about. It's really what they've created this scandal, and you have to remember. And he acknowledges at some point that, Daniel is not actually saying that tasarruf is something that Muslims should adopt. Like tasarruf fil kawn, this is a belief that Muslims adopt. That Daniel's not advocating that, but he's not takfiring. He's not takfiring those who do have the belief. Therefore, he is undermining shirk. And he's apologizing for shirk. Think about how crazy that is. Think about how crazy that is. That you're going through, like, you have to go and declare war and continue to warn against him because he's not doing takfir. Because he's not doing that. This is like exactly like the Kharijis. Like, the Kharijis also said, like, if you don't takfir someone who does zina or drinks alcohol, you are undermining the severity or the sin of those things. And so we're going to fight you and we're going to kill you because you're a murtad. That's the Kharijis. So this is exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same mindset. If you're not takfiring on the basis of what we have decided is kufr, then you are a murtad, you are a kafir yourself, you're minimizing the severity of kufr. So we have to fight you. It's a modern day Khawarij.
طيب حبيبي ما في مشكلة. Allying with innovators is not a minor problem. But bro, what's worse?
Oh yeah, that issue. Like, Daniel is working with innovators. That was a big problem also, that the Madkhalis, when they saw that they were getting curb stomped on the criticizing rulers issue, like I did a whole ilmi refutation. When they got curb stomped on that, then the other thing that they went to is like, but he sits with innovators. It's like, this is news to you? Like, that's always been the case. Innovators, you consider Ash'aris to be innovators. You consider Maturidis to be innovators. Anyone who's not a Wahhabi, anyone who is not kissing the boots of Ibn Abdul Wahhab is an innovator, according to you. So yeah, you think I was ever on board with that trash? You think I was ever on board with that nonsense? No, my belief, in my naivete, I thought that, yeah, Muslims can be Ash'ari or Maturidi or Salafi or none of the above, and they can work together. They can work together to face the biggest challenges of our time, the biggest challenges to Iman, to the life of Muslims. I thought in my naivete that, hey guys, can we look at the bigger issues instead of dividing ourselves along the lines of debates that happened 500 years ago? Can we do that? You think that's possible? Me, this naive, green, innocent child, sweet summer child, thought that, yeah, let's get together, guys. Let's get the whole gang together. Let's go fight the Zionists. Let's go fight the atheists. Let's go fight. Subhanallah. Poor Daniel. You idiot, Daniel. You idiot. You don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know who you're dealing with. So they're still like crying about it. Daniel sits with innovators. And I put this back to Farid. Oh, Farid. Don't you sit with Ash'aris too? Like, some of the people that you're retweeting are Ash'aris, by the way. Aren't you promoting Brother Ijaz? Like, Ijaz is not on your Aqidah, brah. But you're fine with promoting his work. So I guess you're excused somehow from this problem? Why? Why? Isn't he an innovator? He's an Ash'ari or Maturidi or non-Salafi, non-Wahhabi. He's an innovator, right? Right? Isn't that the standard you're applying to me to cancel me?
What's worse, allying with an innovator, or validating the worst form of shirk? Ya Allah, tell me.
Validating the worst form of shirk.
What's your opinion of people who say that Athariya, Ash'ariya, and Maturidi are all three valid aqa'id? La, this is incorrect.
La, it's incorrect. La, it's incorrect. Elaborate, Farid. Elaborate, please. Why don't you? Why don't you? Are you going to be like Adnan Rashid and like start stuttering when you're asked, okay, so Ash'aris and Maturidis, they're Ahlul Bid'ah, right? Just say it explicitly. They're Ahlul Bid'ah. They don't have the correct understanding of Tawheed, right? Right? Say it. Be explicit. Why are you doing this taqiyya? Why are you doing? You want your cake and you want to eat it too. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to be with the Salafi crowd and the Wahhabi crowd and be praised by them and promoted by them, but you also don't want to show your true sectarian nature by explicitly calling out. Be explicit. Be explicit, and then stop promoting some of these debaters who are not Wahhabis, because they're innovators. They're Ahlul Bid'ah, right?
Well, yeah, guys, inshallah, I'm going to get back to putting out lengthier videos. And wallah, yani, subhanallah, I saw some of his last video, and yani, it seems like we're at this point where, you know, when you don't really have too much to say in response, you just say anything, and you hope that that's sufficient for the viewer. I'll be putting out some stuff, and it's going to be painful. And yeah, for those of you,
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be painful for you to bend over backwards to torture the texts. You know, assuming that you'll actually address these narrations that I've shared with you from the Hanabila, assuming that you maybe, instead of saying they're irrelevant, maybe you'll actually address them. Assuming that you do, then yeah, I'm sure it's going to be very, very painful to try to do these mental gymnastics like you tried to do, and you're hoping maybe I won't call you out on the bizarre, ridiculous, just deceptive interpretation of the Subki, Haytami, and Suyuti quotes. Like, that was embarrassing, bro. Like, and I understand why you're going to be very hesitant. Like, he wants to pretend like, oh, I was so busy. In reality, like, he's digging a deeper and deeper hole, because the more that he addresses these narrations and these topics, the more Wahhabis are going to be exposed to them, and more doubts and shubuhat and Wahhabism are going to be created. There's going to be more. Either you're going to push your Wahhabi following to become even more takfiri, where they start even takfiring, and I've seen it already, that Wahhabis are takfiring Suyuti, Subki, and Haytami, and now they're even takfiring Ibn Taymiyyah. They're takfiring Ibn Taymiyyah. Next, I think that they're going to start takfiring Imam Ahmed as well. Imam Ahmed had this concept of the Abdal. He had the concept of Abdal. He had the concept of Tawassul, going to ask the Prophet ﷺ in his grave. Like, Imam Ahmed had that belief in Tawassul. So that's the next step. Like, you're just exposing your audience. So they're in a catch-22 right now. The more we talk about this, like, we really had no clue how much we were in for by attacking Daniel on this issue. So we're exposing our audience to more of this material that we have no answer to, that we haven't taught. Like, our audience is not exposed to these narrations. And we have no way to explain these or to reconcile these with the teachings of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and these other Wahhabi scholars. So we're stuck. We're stuck. We need to respond because he's calling us out. He is really undermining our authority. He's undermining our orthodoxy. Daniel is calling us Ahlul Bid'ah because we're going against what these Sunni scholars have said throughout history. But the more we respond to it, the more we're exposing our audience to these narrations, to this material, and that's going to cause doubts and questions in our Wahhabiyah and our Wahhabism. So I feel sorry for these people. Like, I feel really sorry for them. But this is what they have wrought. This is what they've sown for themselves. You've created this catch-22 for yourself, Fareed. So yeah, and by the way, we're still waiting for you to call a lot of these Hanbali scholars, Shafi'i scholars, Mushrikeen as well. He hasn't even began to address the issue of sacrificing for other than Allah, like animal sacrifice for other than Allah. That was part of the video that we put out, the Wahhabi war on the Sunni legal schools. Also, tawaf, circumambulating graves. That's another issue. We provide all these kinds of narrations, and I'm not saying that go and do tawaf around the grave or sacrifice an animal to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam instead of Allah. I'm not saying that. But what did the Sunni legal school say? The Hanafis, the Shafis, the Malikis, the Hanbalis, on the status of those acts. Are they shirk or not? Or are they something less than that? Are they bid'ah? They're haram. It's haram. Don't do it. It's forbidden. But it's not shirk. And you're not going to be a mushrik if you do it. You're just going to be maybe a fasiq. This is sinful. Ibn Abdul Wahhab and Bin Baz and the Wahhabis say, no, it's clear-cut shirk and you're a mushrik. Okay, well then you have rendered all of these Sunni legal schools as mushrikeen. That's what Wahhabism requires. So can you square that circle, Fareed? Or just come out and say, yeah, the Hanafis are mushriks, the Hanbalis are mushriks, the Shafis are mushriks, Malikis. Just come out and say that, because they don't agree with you. They don't agree that these things are clear-cut shirk. Okay, yeah, we're still waiting for him to address those evidences, let alone the tasarruf issue. Okay,
that want to that are curious about that, then you are going to enjoy what you watch.
Yeah, go ahead. I encourage the Wahhabis to watch the material that I've put out. And I think that's what these Wahhabis are actually advising their followers. Like, don't watch Daniel's videos. If you watch Daniel's videos, you're going to be confused. Just avoid Daniel. Only watch our videos. And then they only present selectively. I think that's their advice, because it's such a fitna. If you watch Daniel, like, his eyes are just going to woo you. He's going to charm you. And the material is going to be too compelling. It's going to confuse you. You won't know. You won't know that everything is shirk and that the entire ummah is a bunch of mushrik kafirs. You won't know that if you watch Daniel stuff. So just avoid Daniel. Just watch our stuff and you'll be safe. Okay, that's our show. So let's get into the super chats. I wonder what you guys are saying. Pet VLA says, Assalamu alaikum, brother. I very look forward from meeting you in Istanbul at the retreat, inshallah. Salam from Switzerland. Wa alaikum assalam. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. Brother, inshallah, it's going to be a good retreat. Amin Sabagh says, Assalamu alaikum. What website and translations of the Quran do you use for the most accurate meanings in English? Just Sahih International. Wa alaikum assalam. I use Quran.com, I believe that's the site. And it gives you a lot of translations side by side. So you can look and compare. And I just look at the Arabic as well. It has the Arabic. It has the translation. It has a word-by-word translation. And you can compare, you read the tafsir, and it's really, if you really want to understand what an ayah means, you can't just look at one translation. That's just a fact. And I can't really say that one translation is, your go-to only. Now, if you want to just casually read the Quran, the really good translation that I like, I have a physical copy of it. I don't know. I think it is online as well. It's called the Gracious Quran. That is a good translation by Ahmed Mansour Hamad. And you can order it, a physical copy. It was published in 2007, or I'm sure you can find it online. The Gracious Quran. And it has like very good language, I think, and it doesn't have any kind of problematic translation. Some of the translations do have problematic renderings. So we looked at some examples at the live stream that I did with Khalid, like الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are, should be translated as men are authorities or leaders of women, but they just translate it as men are caretakers and providers and maintainers of women. A lot of the translations, that's not exactly accurate, right? So Mo says, instead of handing out candy, what about dates? Yeah, I think this is just, you're trying to provoke me. Don't hand out anything. Muslim Boogeyman, how's it going, bro? Next to feature in Saudi Halloween are Satanists. Yeah, they're already doing that. Amin, thank you for super chats. For the love of God, don't ever expose us to the cringe of Eminem. I understand the purpose, but still, yeah, sorry. That's the hazard of watching Haqiqatjou. You're going to be exposed to some cringe every now and then. Kids dressed up in burqa for trick-or-treat. Yeah, great comment. Stop, Muslim Boogeyman says, stop undermining shirk. We have temples to promote. Yeah, I mean, by their logic of what's promotion, if I'm a shirk apologist, they're Hindu temple apologists, Hindu temple promoters by their standards, right? What else are you guys saying? Have you seen Apus and Tommy Robinson trying to get into Masjid al-Aqsa? Yeah, I saw that clip. I'm glad that they weren't allowed in. But, you know, Apus tried to recite Surat al-Fatiha and somehow they saw through that. I guess they can see, like, they have that firasa at Masjid al-Aqsa that this shaitan, even if he's reciting Surat al-Fatiha, he's still not allowed. He's not going to step foot in the sacred premises. So, yeah, that was a typical Zionist slop. Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking at the regular chat. So Andrew, thank you for your super chat, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, any thoughts on Sami Hamdi? I gave some just brief thoughts yesterday on the stream. It's unfortunate, like, the Zionists are really showing that they don't really care about any kind of principles or rules of law, any kind of policy, like whatever they want to do. They want to shut down critics of Israel. They want to take down their social media. They want to buy entire platforms, like openly. Larry Ellison buying TikTok from the Chinese, being forced to sell TikTok to a Jew, a Zionist Jew. They don't really care about the optics anymore. So more and more Muslims are going to be targeted, and Sami, unfortunately, is in the crossfires right now, and the US government is trying to make a show of it. So people are going to get increasingly frustrated with this two-tier justice system. One system of justice for Jews and Israel, another system of justice for everyone else. And the thing is that now they want to really direct their targeting in these policies of Muslims. They want to target Muslims because they know the average American is going to be a little bit disconnected and is not going to be as likely to come and defend Muslims. So the first instances of, like, deporting someone even when they have a valid green card, shutting down streams, shutting down universities, like they're targeting the MSAs, the students for Palestine. It's really focusing on the brown people, focusing on the Muslims. Then once they have a precedent, then they're going to have a wider rollout of these crackdowns, so that they're going to start going after just people in general, Americans in general, white Americans in general. So it's always a gradual rollout, step by step. Do you think you should have been more soft on the imam who talked to Tommy Robinson, as he was inexperienced and apologized? No. No, I think I had just the right amount of harshness. That was yesterday's stream, so if you missed it, you can go watch it. His apology wasn't even sufficient. Joshua is world class. Says, Daniel, you shouldn't be discussing issues like shirk and aqidah. You're not learned in it. This is for scholars to discuss. Stay in your lane. I think this must be bait. Yeah, well, I've challenged the most scholarly, the most knowledgeable people to come and debate me. They can, all the fitna that Fareed is worried about and these Wahhabis are worried about, they can shut it down very easily by coming on a live stream and debating me. But they don't do it. I wonder why. Maybe it's because they're not that learned compared to me. You think that might be the reason? Daniel, can you speak about Sudan? Yeah, the UAE is ramping up their ethnic cleansing in southern Sudan, and the RSF being backed by the UAE. They're doing all kinds of massacres in different Sudanese villages and cities, so it's very unfortunate. Yeah, this is the kind of death and destruction unleashed upon the Ummah by these different powers, these different shayateen. I did a full stream on Sudan, like a full analysis. You can go watch it on Haqiqatjou, and it was clipped. Like the segment on Sudan was clipped. You can go watch it. It's on the channel. The geopolitical analysis and what are the different parties, who's involved. All right, guys, I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to cut the stream off now, and really appreciate all the super chats. Appreciate you all tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. The link is in the description below. Like the video, leave a comment, tell me what you think of these ideas of Halloween, Wahhabis, etc. And inshallah, I'll be on at the same time tomorrow, talking about, I'm not sure exactly what to talk about. I was thinking about doing a reaction to the interview of Nick Fuentes by Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is putting out a lot of interesting material, very anti-Semitic material that Tucker Carlson is putting out. And he just interviewed the anti-Semite in chief, Nick Fuentes. So maybe we will react to that. If you think that'll be a good topic, just let me know in the comments and the chat. But a lot of interesting things said in that interview, and it'll be worth analyzing. So maybe that'll be the stream tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. Okay, I'll see you guys on the next one, inshallah, tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.